Hey guys, I'm Kendra.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mercedes, and this week we're celebrating Kendra's birthday, and we're talking about 13 going on 30.
I can't believe it. It is my birthday. By the time you guys are listening to this, it's going to be my birthday, May 14th. I am turning the big 3-0. I am leaving my 20s and entering my 30s, and I can't even believe it because it just feels like my 20s were my entire life. I feel like I didn't have a childhood. My whole life has just been my 20s. So I'm very excited to be graduating into my 30s.
Yes.
But of course, Mercedes, enough about my birthday. Let's kick it off with our celebrity crush of the week. Who are you crushing on this week?
Okay, I know we just talked about him last week for like a good hour, but I am crushing on James Marsden still. I
Yep.
can't help it. I haven't been able to get him off my mind this whole time,
Mhm.
so he has the power.
He does have a power and a killer smile. Absolutely killer.
Oh my God, those dimples.
Oh, those eyes when they get all squinty.
I
Oh,
know this.
love it. Okay, so fun fact, me and my siblings are all born within 3 weeks of each other. So my brother's birthday
Whoa.
I know, it's crazy. My brother's birthday was May 2nd, mine's in 2 weeks, and for my brother's birthday, we all went to this restaurant in Sherman Oaks, and it was right next to this giant Outsiders mural. So in LA, there are a bunch of movie murals, and this one, Sherman Oaks, is like a famous one of the movie The Outsiders from like 1986, I think.
Yeah.
Um, that was my favorite movie growing up. I watched it, like, every week for years. Like, it was so good. So, my crush of this week is, Rob Lowe circa 1986.
Oh, soda pop.
Yeah, Soda Pop. Oh my gosh, he was so
I I know a boy who looks very strikingly similar to young Rob Lowe. It's a little
really?
overwhelming. Yeah. Unfortunately, he's, like, very aware of that, so he's to his advantage, but
Oh, no. How old is he?
he's my age, yeah.
Okay. Does he live in New Mexico?
I think he used to. He's a college uh,
Interesting. Rob Lowe, St. Elmo's Fire is probably my favorite Rob Lowe,
oh my
like
god. That's
so
a great one. Wow.
yes, yes. Okay, guys, gotta stop crushing my heart. My heart is like beating. I'm gonna have a heart attack because he's so fun. We're gonna move over to the TLDR, guys. We just like to again recap the movie for anyone who hasn't seen it. Warning: there are spoilers ahead, and if you haven't seen 13 Going on 30, you can buy it on Amazon. Take it away, Mercedes.
Yes, so cut to 1987, and Jenna Rink, played by Krista B. Allen, is turning 13 and desperately wants to be popular. Luckily, she has her best friend slash neighbor, Matt Flameth, played by Sean Marquette, but right by her side. He's also secretly in love with her, and for her 13th birthday, gifts her a handmade dream house and magic wishing dust. The dream house is, I mean, the dollhouse,
Mhm.
perfect. I
It
love it.
is. It really is.
And right when he sprinkles the dust all over the house for her wish, the popular kids arrive and trick Jenna into playing 7 minutes of heaven. And while she thinks that her crush is about to enter the basement closet to kiss her, the clique tricks Matt into thinking that she's waiting for him. And when she realizes it's Matt, she gets so mad, kicks him out, and wishes to be 30, flirty, and thriving, just like the women on her favorite cover of her favorite magazine,
Mhm.
Poise. The next day, Jenna, now Jennifer Garner, wakes up and her wish has come true. She's suddenly 30. It's 2004. She's living in a Fifth Avenue apartment and works as an editor of her favorite magazine, Poise. But she has no memory of the last 17 years. She finds Matt. It's like he's her only guide really to explain anything. And he's now played by Mark Ruffalo,
Woo!
amazing. And he's an engaged photographer living in Greenwich Village. And he really explains everything to Jenna about how their friendship ended on her 13th birthday and how she became popular and ignored him for 17 years. And her co-editor slash best friend as a 30-year-old, Lucy, played by Judy Greer, was also the most popular girl at school growing up, the meanest one. And
Mhm.
so as Jenna tries to manage being 30 and realizing she doesn't really like the person she's become in these last 17 years, her magazine also needs a redesign or else they're done forever. So she hires Matt as her photographer, and the two spend their days working together, and they really start to fall for each other. And as Jenna prepares to present it to the magazine owners, she discovers Lucy has stolen her idea and took it to a competing magazine in exchange for becoming the new editor in chief. And now Poise is no longer happening. So sad.
Mhm.
But Jenna rushes to Matt's childhood home to catch him before his wedding, where she apologizes for Lucy's lies and declares her love for him. But sadly, he's still getting married and returns the old dollhouse for her. and tells her that he's always loved her. Heart-wrenching.
Yes.
So heartbroken Jenna sits on her front porch right next door and wishes, and the wishing dust kind of just swirls around her, and the magic happens, and she wakes up and she's 13 again, back in the basement closet on her 13th birthday. When she sees Matt, she kisses him right away, and they run up the stairs toward their future, where they're now newlyweds and moving into their real life pink dream house together in love.
Yay. Oh, that was so good. I'm just like tearing up here. You talk about it again.
That movie just makes me so warm inside, you
Yes,
know?
exactly. It
Mhm.
provides a sense of warmth and just hope too, right?
Yeah.
Like wishes come true. Yeah, so this is a 2004 film written by Josh Goldsmith and Kathy Yuspa, who also wrote What Women Want and The King of Queens. It's directed by Gary Winnick, who also directed Letters to Juliet, which, if you're planning a trip to Italy, it is a must watch. And he also directed the movie Brides Wars. Bride Wars. Brides Wars. Bride Wars. Yes. Okay. Everything about weddings, you know?
Mhm.
So I'm just curious. I thought it was really funny. So, um, when Jenna goes into the closet for her 7 minutes of heaven, you can actually see photos of a young Jennifer Garner on the back of the door there, which is really
Oh
cool.
my
Mhm.
gosh. Oh, I love those little details.
Right? Is that cool?
I know, it's so sweet. I also heard that Jennifer Garner hung out with middle schoolers to prepare for this role, because this really
Mhm.
was, like, her first, like, sweet, fun role. Because before this, she was doing, like, Alias and, like, more action type stuff, more intense.
Yeah.
So this was her first time to really, like, dive deep, and she really went into method with the middle schooler thing.
Mhm, exactly. You know what's funny is I also have a best friend named Matt who I didn't meet till college, but I call him Maddie, and I feel like I call him Maddie because of this movie. Like,
Prob
'cause
I totally get that, yes. Yeah.
definitely. So it was so funny because when the cast was on set, if they weren't sure if something was funny or not, they would ask Judy Greer because she was literally the funniest person on set.
Yes, and the icon of the genre.
Yes, right?
So amazing, and, like, the fact that we just saw her in a movie last week too,
Yep.
so good. Like, it
It's
just shows her power.
mhm.
Oh, I love
And
it.
how great she is to work with too, because
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I also heard that so the director, Winnick, didn't really like the dance sequence, but the
Mhm.
studio said it was necessary because you need a good dance sequence in a good rom-com. So and he was like, this doesn't make any sense. So he made it the last scene that they filmed and he altered it so it had some type of narrative to go with the stakes for Jenna.
Mhm.
So, that's why it's like, "The party for boys isn't working. We need to dance to Thriller." And Mark Ruffalo almost turned down the role because he did not wanna do the Thriller dance.
I
He just, like,
know.
doesn't did not wanna dance.
It's so funny because you can kinda tell because I love Mark Ruffalo, he's a terrible dancer in the scene.
Yes. Oh my god. He's so unenthusiastic, and you could just see the pain in his face. That's the cutest thing about Maddie as a character.
Yeah.
As, like, he's just so sweet that, like, he really can't hide it when he's cringing.
It's adorable. Alright, guys, we're gonna move over to Time Capsule. We just like to recall where we were, what we were doing when we watched this movie, and of course, Mercedes, I have the worst memory. I literally
Yeah.
have the worst memory. I can never remember where I was when I first saw a movie unless it okay, there's, like, a handful of movies, but I don't think we're ever gonna talk about them because 'cause they're not rom-coms.
Maybe.
And
Maybe
it's
they'll come up, fingers crossed.
exactly, so I have no idea where I was, but I remember very clearly this movie was the very first time I ever heard Vienna by Billy Joel, and it
Mhm.
became the theme song of my life, so I was very, very studious. I did really well in high school. I was well-rounded, like, I did a bunch of clubs and activities and everything, and all of that was because I really wanted to go to the East Coast for college, and I wanted a scholarship, and I wanted all of these things and those things, and I just felt like I tried really hard because I remember when I was applying for colleges, I got rejected by every single one except for one, and I just remember listening to the song because I really like the lyric, "You can't be everything you wanna be before your time," and I was like, "Okay, I get it." 'Cause I just tried really hard. I applied for I when I was a senior in high school, I applied for over 150 scholarships.
Oh
Did
my
not get
goodness.
one. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I just that was, like, my senior year, I stopped doing like, I still did, like, musical theater and dance team, but I stopped hanging out with my friends, I stopped doing everything, I just applied for scholarships and just applied for colleges. That
whoa.
was it.
No one warns you how intense that process is gonna be, and then, like,
Yeah.
no one also prepares you for, like, how much it really is just you working on it, you know?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
like, not really a lot of help, even, like, your college counselors could guide you, but
Mhm.
also, like, they can only give you tips, they're not gonna be like, "Oh," they're not gonna go out of their way to search for, like, different scholarships and all those things. It's so
I
intense.
it is really intense, and too, I think my school as well, it's not common to go away for college. Everyone
Mhm.
stays in Washington or goes to, like, the local community college. But I was like, "No, I wanna go to Boston University, I wanna go to NYU, I wanna go to Ju" like, I want to go to these, like, prestigious schools on the East Coast, which is funny because at the end of the year, they always release a map, and they have every single senior's name, and they just have on the map where the senior is going to school. And so you can see on Washington, it's, like, my entire graduating class, and then New York, it was me and this other kid
You
named Bloor. Like
just a little boop.
Yeah, it was just me and this other like, there were 2 of us from our graduating class going to school in New York,
Oh
which is
my
crazy.
gosh.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's
What were
solid
you doing?
dedication.
Do you remember the first time you saw this movie?
Okay, so like you, I don't really remember the specifics, but I was 8 years old, and I can almost guarantee that this was, like, a movie I rented with my dad on, like, a Friday, and we
Yeah.
watched it together, and because that was just our routine, like, every Friday, we'd go to Hastings or wherever and rent a movie, so this was definitely one of them, and I just, like, remember being so jealous of Jenna's dream house, like, her dollhouse, and being like, "That should be mine." Because I was truly Barbie obsessed. I was also American
Mhm.
Girl doll obsessed, like, those were my 2 favorite toys,
Yeah.
and I had, like, the room my brothers live in now at my parents' house, that we could it used to be, like, my Barbie city, like, before
Mhm.
my brothers were born, we, like, called it Barbie city. So I always thought of her dream house, and I was like, "That's, like, where I wanna live, that's where I want my dolls to live."
Yep.
And also, this is just such a classic sleepover movie, I think I've played it at so many sleepovers growing up.
Yeah, absolutely. It is, it really is. I mean, the thing is, while I may not remember where I was when I saw this, I remember 2004 very clearly. Very clearly, Mercedes. Okay, 2004 was the first time I was ever in love. And and love did not strike me many times in my life. I literally can the only 2 people I loved were this boy and Nick Jonas. That's pretty much it.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm gonna
What
tell you
grade
about
were
him.
you in? You were in 6th grade?
I was in 6th grade. Yeah,
Okay.
uh-huh. This is the start of middle school. So
Oh my gosh.
his name was Wesley Brightner.
Wesley.
Wesley. I had the biggest crush on him. He was a popular boy in middle school, and he always had a girlfriend. That was the annoying thing about him is he was so cute, but everyone else thought he was cute too, so he always had a girlfriend. And I remember he dated this girl named Jessica Smith for like a year or like over a
Oh my
year. Do
gosh.
you know how long a year is in middle school years? Like
Yeah, that's a marriage.
it was a marriage. It was insane. I felt like I was dying because I liked him before they started dating. But I remember, this probably wasn't great on my part, but I remember the second they broke up, I, like, messaged him on AIM. This is me dating myself. I messaged him on AIM, and I was like, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know, like, I've liked you since before you and Jessica started dating because I did. Like, I liked him since the beginning of the year." And he was just like I think he just replied with like, "Oh, okay." And then I was like, "You get this a lot, don't you?" And he was like, "Yeah, kind of." And let me tell you, Mercedes, that broke every blood vessel in my heart. The fact that he was like, "Yeah, I get this a lot," and I'm just like, I was so heartbroken because I had spent,
Wow.
I liked him for so long, and it's just like, it felt like so much of, again, my life. I'm so I exaggerate so much. It felt like so much of my life in middle school because I was just, like, pining over this kid. But he's married now, he has, like, 3 kids, he's still
Wow.
cute, but yeah,
Wow.
you grow and you learn, and that was the very first boy I ever fell in love with.
Wesley.
Wesley.
That was quite the story. Quite a journey.
It's a whole journey.
Oh my goodness.
Who did you have a crush on?
Those middle school crushes really just, like, hit so hard. They're so
Yeah.
memorable.
Yeah, seriously, gosh.
Yeah.
What were you doing?
So I was in 2nd grade. So
Okay.
my world was like soccer, basketball, American Girl, and like watching like 80s and 90s syndicated sitcoms. Like that was when I was doing. And I thought like I was really thinking about my celebrity crushes for this because I
Mhm,
couldn't really remember like a real crush. And I thought of Tom Welling from Smallville. I remember
mhm.
watching that with my mom all the time, and I had the biggest crush on him. And he was in Cheaper by the Dozen. So
Yes.
he was just amazing. And then like Chad Michael Murray.
Yes! Oh,
And
yes!
Dean Thomas from Harry Potter. I
Yeah.
love you, Dean Thomas, forever. And also, like, Mark Ruffalo in this movie, this was the first time I had ever seen him,
Yeah.
and he's been one of my, like, celebrity loves forever since, I think,
Mhm.
like, I love how soft-spoken he is, I love how but he, like, cares about like, he's an activist and he cares about climate change,
Yes.
and, like, there's just so much to love about him, and he
Yes.
seems just, like, genuinely so kind.
He really does, and I every time he wins an award for something, I, like, stand up and applaud him, and
Yeah.
I love the speeches that he gives, and he really I think he does have a big heart. This is just from the interviews and things I've seen of him, but I really like him, and I've
Mm.
also, like, heard that he's lovely to work with, so that's always
Yes.
nice too.
Oh, no, I love hearing that.
Yeah, exactly. Alright, guys, it's time for the Rom-Com Hall of Fame, but of course, Marissa, it is. As much as we love this movie, right? We're not denying that we don't like this movie. We love
Yeah.
this movie. We do have to roast it a little bit, and I'm curious
Mhm.
what you think.
So my roasts are they're only a couple because it's
Yeah,
hard to roast this
it's
movie,
hard to
but
roast this, yeah.
I think the entire description when they're 13 in, like, the first, 20 minutes of the movie,
Mhm.
it's when they're explaining the 7 minutes of heaven game to Jenna, and they're just like, "You get blindfolded and the guy can do whatever he wants to you." And it's just that language that is just so gross, and I know it's supposed to be, like, in the '80s right then, but I'm like, "Oh, this language is awful." And, I don't know, and, like, Maddie describes it in 17 Later as a spin the rapist, and he's so not wrong because it is, like, such a predatory game,
I
and, oh
never played
gosh.
that game growing up. Did you ever play that growing up?
I mean, not with, like, a blindfold. The blindfold I was like, "There's no need for that."
Yeah. I never played that game growing up. It was never yeah, I think I mean, obviously, I heard about it, but, like, I also wasn't a kid going to a bunch of birthday parties and stuff.
Yeah, definitely wasn't either, and I
Yeah.
think, like, it's definitely more of that, like, teen movie or, like, even, like, in a, like, sitcom. Like, you
Mhm.
hear more about it in, like, Boy Meets World than you do, like, in real life, I
Yeah.
think. Maybe
Yeah.
I just wasn't invited to the really cool parties.
I hear you. And then
But also no, go
oh,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, the fashion in this movie, like, it blows my mind that we used to wear stuff like that and actually think that we looked good. Of course, you could say that about fashion from every decade,
Yeah.
but it's just extra funny because it's like the contrasting prints and, like,
Mhm.
sunglasses and crimped hair and things like that. It's like and the shoes with, like, the fluff on them, like the
It's also nuts because all of that's coming back now, like, that's very much on trend right now.
Yeah.
Which is gnarly, because then I feel like I get brainwashed into being, like just from seeing it a lot again, there I'm like, "Oh, that's cute. That's cute." Like, all the, like, over the top like and I, like, really do like the way Jenna dresses because it's so over the top and so 13, like, they
Yeah.
really made a point to, like, give that essence, that youthful essence back to her style,
Yes.
and compared to, like, Judy Greer's character, Lucy, who's, like, always in, like, very dark colors and, like, very serious and, like, businessy almost,
Y
but
you know why they
really
did
struck
that,
a chord.
right?
Just for, like, for their characters, I'm sure, just to, like,
Yeah, 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 the
set them
costume
apart.
designers were very intentional about that, like, as Jenna's character became more, like, adult and playful and stuff, they made her wardrobe, like, lighter, and as Lucy's character became more, like, sinister and, like, more of, like, the antagonist, her wardrobe became, like, darker. It was really interesting to read.
It makes so much sense, and I think it also just, like, really speaks to Jenna's just, like, the core of her, like, she is a 13-year-old. It's, like,
Mhm.
big, the movie
Yeah.
Big, where, like, these are children dressed up as, like, in adult bodies, just, like, trying to function in the adult world.
Yeah.
So, like, if my 13-year-old self was putting on outfits for me now, honestly, they might look similar to how I dress. I don't know. Just 'cause they think they would just be incredibly colorful, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember my birthday in 6th grade. I got $120 for my birthday, and I went to the mall and bought an all pink outfit. Like, I bought pink etnies because everyone was wearing etnies at the time. I bought, like, this pink shirt and, like, they were white pants, so they had, like, a pink stripe down them, and
Mhm.
I was like, "That my favorite color is pink," and, like, that it was that moment that I decided that, because before my favorite color had been purple because my mom's favorite color is purple. But I was in middle school and I could make my own decisions now, and so but still
Oh,
to say yeah, my favorite color is pink. My favorite color is, like, rose gold, but, it's
I
pink
love that. I'm a
and
pink and purple girl too.
Yeah,
Those are my faves forever.
yeah, absolutely. I feel like her boyfriend was pretty cringe too, right?
Oh my god, yes. So the fact that she has to tell, like, her hockey player boyfriend to stop and, like, to put clothes on and, like, continuously tell him no and is physically running away from him, and he thinks it's some type of game. And he's so insistent on doing the opposite of that and really just not listening. And I don't know. I know it's supposed to be a comedic moment, but also just like no means no.
Yep.
And at some point, like you could see she's visibly frightened. Like just like let it go,
Yep.
please.
Tell me, Mercedes, what is your favorite quote though? Because I feel like one of your favorite quotes has to do with the exact opposite of her hockey
Uh,
player boyfriend.
my favorite quote is when she's walking with Maddie and they just finished their like week of photo shoots for the magazine. And
Mhm.
she says, "Want to know a secret? You're the sweetest guy I've ever known." And it's just so sweet and so simple. And like the way he just like looks at her and then they're eating razzles. It's
Yeah.
sweet.
The razzle red tugs. Okay, this is my favorite quote, but it's because like every time I put on a dress or I put on a shirt and it fits me incredibly, I say this line. Because as someone who has like a fuller chest, it can be hard to find things that fit nicely. And so I love the line when she's in the elevator with her neighbor, and her neighbor goes, "Your dress is pretty." And she goes, "It's because I got these incredible boobs to fill it out."
It's such yeah, that I love that moment because it is,
It's
like,
so
such,
funny.
like, 13-year-old brain too of being
Yeah,
just
exactly.
so excited.
Yeah, because we saw, like, 13-year-old Jenna stuffing her bra, and now she's like, "Now I have boobs."
Mhm.
It was so funny.
So sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, I also love that soul-crushing quote at the end when Maddie tells her that he's still getting married,
Yeah.
and he says, "Jenna, I've always loved you," and she's holding the dollhouse and just,
Yeah.
like, crying and leaving the room, and I that's when I burst into tears. Like,
Yeah.
every single time, I'm sobbing in that scene, and I just oh my gosh, it wrecks me.
It absolutely wrecks you. Okay, I think this is a pretty easy answer then, Mercedes. If this movie popped up on your Tinder feed, are you swiping left? Are you swiping right?
I'm swiping right always. I
Yeah.
adored this movie and it just brings me to tears after all these years and after so many rewatches too. And this movie is a rom-com with like its classic tropes and like the physical comedy and Jennifer Garner is such a great lead and you really like empathize with her. But it also mixes time travel and magic in a way that doesn't freak me out or stress me out because a lot of time travel stories stress me out because I'm like, oh my God, what's
Yep.
going to happen? Butterfly effect, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I always just think about all of that, and then,
Mhm.
but I also just find Jenna Rink, like, so endearing as a character, and it's definitely just more of Jennifer Garner being charming than anything else, and she just captures the innocence that Jenna has so well, and
Yeah.
makes her character arc, like, so emotional, and also just hold a lot of depth that I don't think people would necessarily offer 13-year-olds. Like, this movie is
Mhm.
for, like, teen girls, and like, they deserve to be celebrated. Like, this is a sleepover movie, you know? And then
Mhm.
Maddie is such, like, a non-threatening man and just truly kind that it just makes him, like, the one of the best, you know? Like and
Yeah.
it's just, like, nothing about him is, I don't know, like, anything but protective over Jenna, you know?
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
so sweet to see.
It really is. It really is. I feel like with this movie, there's a lot. So I'm swiping right, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, I just feel like this movie is so endearing, and I just had a really hard time obviously coming up with things I didn't like about it, but it's also like incredibly honest. And they managed to explore adolescence in a really authentic way that's not creepy, which kind of feels like incapable movies are not capable of doing that
Yeah.
anymore. But it's just crazy too because I'm going to be 30 in 10 days. My birthday's in 10 days. By the time people are listening to this, they'll already be 30. It's just like I'm going to be 30, but I still feel like there's a lot of things from my like teen years, from 13 that I didn't get to explore or I didn't get to experience, right? Like 7 Minutes in Heaven. And I don't know if I feel more like the 30-year-old Jenna or the 13-year-old Jenna. Like it's part of both, right?
Yeah.
And it's just that part of growing up of like, okay, I know I'm an adult, but there's still a big part of my heart that feels like I'm still that little girl inside. And so it's just kind of balancing that. That's what I'm trying to think about right
I
now.
totally relate to that. I mean,
Yeah.
like, cut to me, like, twirling down the aisles in a grocery store. Like, I like, there's some parts where I'm just like, "Am I really an adult?" Because
Yeah.
sometimes the way I'm just like, I don't know, my day-to-day antics do not feel, like, adult.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, I think also, like, Jenna, as a 30-year-old, the way we see her, is still
Mhm.
13.
Yeah.
So, she's also not handling it either, and I think this movie does such a good job of, like, capturing that,
Mhm.
like, that turn that I don't know, that major moment of like quarter life crisis almost, but in the
Mhm.
middle of also like having this 13-year-old brain. And that's almost what it feels like, you know, to be around these ages that we are, of being
Mhm.
like, I should have this stuff handled. Like I should know what I'm doing. And then we're all just kind of flailing around like Jenna Rink, wearing like a trench coat and
Yeah.
pajamas to work.
Yeah, it's funny because Jenna is so hard on herself, right? She wants so much and she wants to be the
Yeah.
specific type of person, and I feel like it's very common at 13 to just, like, be really critical of yourself. So I'm curious for you, Mercedes, what was one thing you just really loved about yourself when you were 13?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. I definitely had a deep insecurities, but I
Yeah.
also had kind of this silent ego of like I knew what I was good at and I was proud of it. And I also
Mm.
I'm really proud of myself for never like truly backing down from my interests. Like I think middle school is definitely the time where a lot of girls, especially girls,
Mhm.
really just lose a lot of their passions and interests that they had earlier than that as
Yeah.
children, just because you're surrounded by just like a lot of noise and a lot of social pressures that like really hadn't been a thing yet. And that's often the time when, like, boys get louder about their interests and girls get
Ugh.
quieter.
Yeah.
So, I think just, like, withstanding that and, like, I remember even, like, little things in middle school of people being like, "Mercedes, you really like Zac Efron? Like, are you serious?" And I was like, "Of course I like Zac Efron. Have you
Yeah.
seen his face?" And, like,
Yeah.
boys, like, fighting like, fighting for my interest like that and, like,
Yeah.
being like, "No, I love this," and I don't know, like, finding I don't know, making my own interests valid before other people
Yeah.
did, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. I there are parts of me that I miss about the 13-year-old version about myself, but I really miss how bold I was. Mercedes, I was absolutely fearless. I just, like, took charge. If I liked a guy, I would walk right up to him, look him dead in the face, and be like, "I like you."
I
Like,
love
what?
that.
Like,
I love that.
I can't even fathom, like, looking in the direction of a cute guy now. Like, I just obviously, I know it's because as I got older, my heart just experienced more and more rejection to the point that it just kinda, like, shut down a bit. But
Yeah.
I really do miss that about myself. Like, I just did not care. I don't feel like I really cared what people thought. Like, I did to an extent, but I was just so earnestly myself
Mhm.
and just so fearless. I miss that being fearless because now I'm like, "Okay, I just start thinking about the consequences. What if this happens or I do this or blah blah." And I miss just being the type of Kendra that would just jump and
Yeah.
not think. I would just jump.
You
And
gotta
I
do
hope
things for middle school Kendra again.
yeah,
You gotta, like, I don't know, you know how people say they treat their inner child? I think you gotta treat your inner tween.
yeah. I think that's why I solo travel. It kinda gives me it lets me see a glimpse of that old version of Kendra again,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah, because 'cause you're put in positions where you really have to, like, be like, put yourself out there in ways that
Yeah,
you wouldn't before.
exactly.
Oh, I love
Anyways,
that.
listeners, we wanna hear what do you miss about the 13-year-old version of yourself? We're gonna move over into couples therapy, though. We like to give dating advice. I mean, I don't know if we have a ton for that, but we like to give dating advice for the characters on how they can improve their relationship. And I just think, like, when things get tough with Jenna and Maddie, I just really hope they remember how special of a friendship they share, and I hope that that keeps them going. I understand the sentiment of when people say, like, marry your best friend, right? Because you always have this level of respect for each other. Like, they're always the first person you wanna tell about things, they're always the person you wanna share things with. And so I get that, and I hope they maintain that respect for each other and continue to champion each other and learn and grow together. And I just think there's nothing like growing up with your favorite person.
Yes. These 2 are such, like, true best friends, and that's so
Yeah.
nice to see because Maddie does so much for Jenna from the very beginning, and I'm
Yeah.
so glad Jenna finally sees how special he is and how much he cares for her. I think that just I would love to see that reciprocated for
Mm,
Maddie from Jenna, you know what I mean?
yeah.
As much as I love them together oh, oh my gosh, this is a whole different point. As much as I love to see them together, maybe don't kiss an engaged guy, and I know it's in an alternative
Yeah.
universe, and that doesn't happen once their story gets, like their real story happens, but it's also just, like, one of those other times where we see rom-coms embracing infidelity, and even though it's just a kiss, I'm like, "You know, we're aware of this
Yeah.
situation." But, yeah, I just think
Mm.
if she could just give him the same love that he gives her, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I would almost argue he kissed her because he was hot.
True. True, 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 true. Okay.
But yes, you are
Don't go
completely
around
right.
kissing people when you have a fiance.
Yes. I feel like they're like when we're thinking about their love language, like, Jenna needs quality time, like, she's very much like, "I like doing things with Matt," and I feel like
Yeah.
they grow closer together by doing the things that they love the most, and she gives words of affirmation, you know, like the example of your favorite quote, like, "You're the sweetest guy I've ever known," like, it's easy for Jenna to express herself in words, and so I feel like she's really good at giving words of affirmation, and then for Matt, I feel like he gives acts of service, like,
Mhm.
he dances with Jenna a lot in this movie, and it's really sweet. He gives her a flower during that montage, which I love that montage. Why
Oh
can't
my gosh, that's the best.
I?
Yes,
It's the best. Yeah.
that song is so early 2000s.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he helps her with her project. He does all the things that she wants to do, like buying razzles, but he enjoys doing that for her. So I think he
Yeah.
enjoys performing acts of service, but I think he needs quality time. And I think that's one of the reasons why it didn't work out with his fiancée, Wendy, because she was in Chicago and he like never got to see her, right? And he likes to spend time with, and I think that's important in a relationship, right? Like to spend time with each other. And I
Mhm.
don't feel like him and Wendy really got that. So that's how I feel.
Kendra, I completely agree with you on
Yeah.
their love languages. Like, that's so true. I also think there's definitely a little bit of gift giving here because
Mm,
hello, the dollhouse. Like, that's like
yeah.
the major like token of love through this whole movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, like other than that, all the same. All the same, same, same.
It's funny because we never like I feel like when we talk about rom-coms, we never gifts never pops up. But yeah, you're absolutely
No.
right. Yeah, they
I
gift
feel like gifts easily falls under like acts of service too, because you're like, oh, well, they're doing something for somebody, but that's also like a gift in some way, you know?
yeah,
So
yeah,
I think they blur the lines a little bit.
yeah, exactly. So, I think I know your answer, but we ask you anyways. Do you think this couple lasts in 5 years?
Yes, of course. They are soulmates. They last forever and always. Like, how can they not, you know? They're meant to
Yeah,
be. Even though I think if you're dating someone from like seventh grade for the rest of your life, that's a little wild.
it's a while.
But you know, they had that break in the alternative universe, so
Yeah.
they had a 17-year long break.
Yeah, exactly. I would say yes as well. And I just feel like not just that, they're gonna be the type of couple that has amazing kids and their kids grow up and want to like have a love story like theirs, like their love story inspires generations. So
Yes.
I think that's really special. All right, guys, it's time for Heartthrob.
Mhm.
Mercedes, who would you take home and introduce to your friends and family? I think I know, but
Of
tell me.
course, Maddie.
Of course, Daddy.
He is one of the best leading men in the history of rom-coms. Like, truly,
100%.
like, of course I'm taking him home. He's sweet, he's reliable, he's soft-spoken, he loves Jenna for who she is, even when she's, like, a frustrating 13-year-old obsessed with being popular, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And he's just such a dreamboat, and I swoon, and Mark Ruffalo is one of my biggest celebrity crushes, and I just think he's spectacular. Mark Ruffalo, come on the pod.
Come on the pod, Mark Ruffalo. You are always welcome. I'm actually just shocked, Mercedes, pure shocked, that there is a leading man in a rom-com from the early 2000s that is not problematic in any way. Like, it's
Yes.
unheard of. Maddie is definitely the heartthrob of this episode. So congrats, Mark Ruffalo. Thank you for making all of our wildest dreams come true.
Yeah, there is no toxic masculinity in Maddie's character.
Exactly. Marry, smooch, ghost. Mercedes, who are you marrying? Who are you smooching? Who you ghosted?
Oh my goodness. So obviously I'm marrying Maddie, and then I will smooch Alex, the hockey player boyfriend,
Okay.
because I love an athlete.
Uh-huh.
And I am ghosting Chris Grandy because he is so unfortunate looking. And even like his 13-year-old self, I was like, even as a child, I was like, that guy's not cute. Why does Jenna like him?
Yeah. He becomes a taxi driver.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you here.
Yay.
I'm agreeing with you here. Although okay, actually, I am going to marry Maddie and I'm going to ghost both Alex and Chris, I think.
Ooh, okay.
I'm gonna ghost both of them. I do like hockey though. I will say that. I know it's very. I do enjoy watching hockey, but Alex is just so cringe to me. Like there's nothing
Oh my god, his
endearing or cute.
dance, when he
Yeah,
does the dance, I'll
it's so
never
bad.
forget it. It's traumatizing.
It really is. All right, guys. Before we wrap it up, we always love to bring in a pop culture moment. I'm curious. Did you see the video of Jennifer Garner on her birthday? Like her
No.
birth. Okay, so her friend surprised her with freaking Donny Osmond. Like and he starts singing
Oh,
one
random.
of his I know iconic songs. Like she's at this restaurant with her friends and he pops up behind her, starts singing one of her favorite songs, and they start singing together in the restaurant. And I would have killed to have been in that restaurant. It would have been so
Yeah,
fun.
that would've been so much fun. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. I love Jennifer Garner. Did you see her and Mark Ruffalo, their reunion for the Adam Project movie with Ryan
Yeah.
Reynolds? And they
Yeah.
recreated the, like, sweet image of them cuddling on the couch. I just oh my gosh, I melted for that.
So sweet. Love it. Love it. Love it.
And also Jenna's poise party dress, the one that her neighbor comments on being like, "That's such a pretty dress." The
Yeah.
ones where she
She
has the boobs to fill it.
yeah.
She that dress has been recreated by a lot of online stores in the past couple years. I think, like, at the beginning of lockdown, people were
Mhm.
rewatching, like, all these, like, comfort movies, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, this movie is amazing. I need that dress." And last Halloween, I saw so many Jenna Rinks all over my socials.
Really?
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
not see any. What the
Oh
heck?
my gosh. Yeah, there's so many of, like, the fast fashion brands who are selling it now.
That is insane. I gotta get that. I gotta get in on that. But listeners, we want to hear your thoughts. Do you like Jenna? Do you like Maddie? Do you think they're gonna last in 5 years? What is your favorite version of your 13-year-old self? Slide into our DMs at Meet Cute. Again, I'm Kendra. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at KenTedHollywood.
Yes, and I'm Mercedes. You can find me at MercedesGV11 on IG, Twitter, and TikTok. And if you're looking for new rom-coms, follow Meet Cute wherever you listen to podcasts and follow Meet Cute on socials everywhere. Bye, everybody.
We'll see you next week.